So today I wanted to get into the topic of lighting. First, I want to cover what I have going for lighting right now, what's going on in that closet, which shouldn't take super long, but then I want to have more of an extensive conversation of what we're doing with our lights from the seed germination stage all the way up until harvest. And we all know that after harvest, there should be as little light as possible on those plants as it degrades the THC and other cannabinoids. And those things are kind of important. So right now, back in that closet, I have my Spider Farmer SF2000 dimmed to 40%. I adjusted the dimming. It was at about 35%, but now it's at a full 40%. It's looking really bright in there. The seedlings are popping up, doing a little bit more stretching than I would like, but at the same time, I'm nervous that if I turn that LED up too much, I'm going to start burning those plants. For the light cycle, right now, I have them in the seedling stage. They're doing 18.6, and they will continue doing 18.6 up until the flowering stage, where then we switch from 12 on 12 because they are photos, and if they were autos, I would just leave it on 18.6 the entire grow cycle. Now, I know a couple people who do a 24-hour light cycle, and I personally don't think it's optimal. When it comes to the veg stage. But let's start with the seedlings or with the seeds. Does anyone out there start without light? Because I start with light. I start 18.6 because I never know when those plants are going to pop. And when they do pop, I want them to be able to get light. And I work full time, so I'm not here all the time. I would not be able to supervise whether or not that seed popped at, let's say, 6 in the morning or late into like 10 in the afternoon, 11 in the evening, something like that. So I like to have them already have the light since it's only like 3 to 5 days I would be wasting of light, which isn't a crazy amount out of the entire month. But I do personally start with light. Anyone who doesn't start with light, let me know why. I know that when it sprouts, it doesn't necessarily need light right away, but I'm sure it would help it find the direction to grow. Going into the veg stage, I got pretty intense light, not as intense as in the flower stage, but pretty intense. I'll probably have that one SF2000 all the way maxed for the beginning of the veg stage, and then I'll probably have to throw in my second SF2000 right about midway through the veg stage since they will be spreading themselves out and I will need to have a larger surface area for those plants in there. So with the 5x2 space that I'm working with, I don't have a lot of surface area that I need to cover. I'm certain that 2SF2000 will be able to do the job. I do not know any other light that would fit in there that is larger from Spider Farmer, at least. I'm sure I could do a little bit of searching around and find something else that would work in there. But for now, I just have the two SF2000s, and I'm sure they will be sufficient in getting the job done. Now, in the flower stage, that's kind of where things get a little bit more restrictive, and you need to have your stuff dialed in a little bit better. And going into the flower stage, right when you switch 12 on 12 is when I count the flower stage. Some people wait to count the flower stage until buds start forming after that flip, but I do count the stretch period as part of the flower stage. So I'll normally have 8 to 10 weeks, and that will pretty much map out the entire thing. So it'll be 8 to 10 weeks, maybe 12 or 13 of 12 hour on 12 hour, and there's a lot less you can do with the actual plant at that point. But once we get to the point we determine the harvest, chop them down, and then we leave them in the dark. Um, does anyone do anything different with the lighting, or is that pretty much the standard? And also, what kind of lights do you guys use? Because personally, I like using LED full spectrum lights through the entire process. And I find other lights kind of annoying in that they give off more heat and that is energy that's not going towards light, which you can use space heaters, you can use other things to create heat. When you have a tool for light, it should be for light, personally, I feel like. And also with those lights, they'll be a little bit warmer color wise in the spectrum, so it'll be more red and orange that you will be able to see, and it will actually change how you can see the plants. So when it comes for diagnosing my plants with some kind of issue, or noticing decolorations in my plants, I really like full spectrum LEDs because they don't give off a lot of heat, and it actually shows the true color of my plants, so to speak. So I'll be able to tackle issues when I see them, and it won't be something that I'll have to move them out of the garden or turn on a completely different light. Also on lighting, do you guys use green lights when you go into your garden at night? I used to, but since then I just started using either the flashlight on my phone or turning on the light momentarily. I find that me having to go in like max once a week for like a minute at a time, it does not affect the plant as much as people will make it out to. Sure, you want to avoid light stress at any point. You don't want the light on your plants, especially in the flower stage. It can cause issues. But as with any other stress, I feel like if you space it out, you give those plants time to recover, it's not going to be a huge issue to, even if you dim down your light to make it less intense, just go in there, turn on your regular light, do what you need to do. If you missed a watering because shit went haywire and you had an emergency, you can go in and water your plants during the night. That won't hurt one time either. Whatever you need to do with spraying, if you need to do that for like pests and whatnot, just get in, get out. Your plants aren't going to harm after one slight exposure to light. The real issue I find will come with a light leak. So if, for example, my plants had the light turned off and I was in here and I was doing a video and whatnot, and I had the ceiling light on and I had this light on, and there was just a lot getting into the closet and onto those plants' canopies. If I'm doing a recording and I'm in here for like a half hour at a time, 3 or 4 times a week, that could be a huge issue when it comes to the light exposure on those plants. Even though these lights aren't super intense, the longevity of that exposure and the frequency of that exposure, I could see myself hermaphroditing a plant, extremely quickly. And also, I have a blackout curtain here that I've pinned to the wall on one side, and I actually might have to do it to the other side, simply to block out the light that's coming from the outside, because part of my night period is during the day. So that is also something I need to worry about. And it's not a super huge deal, but just being cautious of those kinds of things will save your plants, because this door to this closet is not sealed. Um, and I could get like foam strips. I've seen people use those to just seal off that room, make sure no light's getting in there. But I find it a lot easier to just kind of work with it and work around it, especially since I work during the night. It's not that big of a deal to close this room off and have the lights turned off during the day. Whew. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing for lighting. That's my opinion on lighting. I've had a lot of times where I wasn't able to get good bud photography because of the lighting, and it made everything just look orange, and you couldn't tell what colors and the characteristics of the plants, which, being a content creator, it might not seem like a big deal to someone else, but being a content creator and wanting to share my experience, it makes it a lot better to be able to get good photography. So if for the diagnostics or for bud photography, if you like taking pictures of your plants like I do, you might want to look into getting a full spectrum light. Even if it's not an LED, something that is full spectrum will help greatly, because you'll be using all of the spectrums of light, and you won't have to worry about dialing it to be more reds or more blues during different periods of time. That's not super important. Yeah, plants will take up different colored lights at different times and different frequencies for different reasons. But for the average grower that wants to grow weed that's better than 99% of people at home, that is not something you're going to need to pay attention to. So if you're currently dialing in your spectrums and you got something going and you're growing great weed and you like doing the process, by all means go and do it. But if you're someone who's looking to get into the hobby and be passionate about growing, I would personally recommend not worrying about all the spectrum nonsense and trying to dial your plants in to be perfect with the light and whatnot, because it's just not necessary, in my opinion. I've grown great weed under HPS, metal haloid lights, and full spectrum LEDs. The only difference is I enjoy the experience of growing with an LED a lot more. Simply because of the aesthetic factors, simply because of how intense the diodes actually are. You have your plants, your lights dimmed down a lot of the time, and it's not that expensive to run, so it actually saves on your electricity, I feel like, even if you're using a heater. And it's just great quality all around, and that light's probably going to last a very long amount of years. It's already been doing me good for, what, I think I've had that light for 3 years, and I am very impressed with it, and it's great to start seeds under as well as grow well into the veg stage. And then, like I said, I'm going to have to put the second one in there simply because of the surface area and the actual light intensity map and whatnot, but it's a great light. And hey, if you want to pick yourself up a Spider Farmer, I am actually an affiliate, so you can go to their website. I have a promo code in the description of my videos that you can use to save a little bit of money at checkout. But if I seem a little bit biased above Spider Farmer, that's a little bit why. But I do like other lights as well. I just have the most experience with Spider Farmer, and I am also an affiliate with them. But I grew fantastic weed under the sun. And the sun is a great light as well. And if you know how big you want your plants, I say you need to plan that out well ahead, because the season for outdoor growing is much longer than you would probably have an indoor grow go for. I normally have 2 months of veg time and in indoor cycle. When I go outdoor, I would like to have a little bit longer of a veg time, and also just with the sun, I feel like outside your plants stretch and grow a lot more. I don't know if it's because they sense they have more space around them, or if it's like if the sun and the outdoor carbon dioxide and the fresh air is just so much greater than what you can do indoor. But those plants get crazy huge, man. I've seen some wicked awesome outdoor plants, but I think that's all I can really talk about lighting. I mean, the sun is the sun. It's always been the sun. It always will be the sun. It's not going to blow up in our lifetime. So it is what it is. If you want to do research on the sun spectrum so you can mimic it, do your own research, because I haven't looked into that. But I enjoyed talking to you guys about lighting, and I hope you guys learned something or took something out of value from this live stream. And thank you guys very much. I'll see you guys next time.